Well, a very good afternoon and welcome to this week's Light Bite Lunch. Today we are going to be discussing, among other things, today being Random Act of Kindness Day. It's a day that personally I think we should be all practicing every day, but it is an official day today and we're going to talk to our guest about that. And we're also going to discuss World Human Spirit Day. We have a fabulous guest joining us today. We have Tara Crawford from Wellbeing with Wings. Good afternoon, Tara. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
Before we get kick off properly, Tara, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Tara Crawford. I am a mum of two. I'm a holistic therapist. I am based in Wicklow Town, originally from Greystones. I would have started off on my journey. I did a degree in youth and community education in university in Wales, and I worked in the frontline crisis intervention services in Merchants Quay from about 1996 to 2010. And I think it was there really where my journey started. I always had an interest in anything that was sort of rare, strange, or peculiar. Um, Once I moved over to Wales, a different type of world opened up from the insular world that I was in. Coming back and working in Merchants Quay, opened up so many avenues. That's where I discovered the likes of meditation, or I saw it in practice. Reiki, the talk of angels, the talk of your well-being and your wellness, mental health issues. And I suppose it started off from there that I wanted to get to the root cause of why so many people became homeless. And we were always told you're only ever one paycheck away from losing the roof over your head. Do you know that we're a very fickle society? So when I looked at it, I did my dissertation, my thesis on mental health and homelessness. And I think it was through the practice of getting down, everybody that I worked with and I saw in those situations suffered from anxiety and didn't have the skills to cope. We certainly weren't being taught them in school or in the formal education system. So I suppose it was really started off about coping skills. That knocked on. I did my level 1 in Reiki and stayed at that just for a long time, just for personal use. And then as the world started opening up, I started discovering different modalities of healing or energy work or niceness, basically, that didn't belong to any belief system. I would very much not like to be put in any one box. I would like a little bit of everything. And that in turn knocked on to me studying kinesiology, which is a system of tapping into the unconscious with muscle testing. And an opportunity came up. I started working in a small little, it was known as the local angel shop in Wicklow Town in about 2013, I think it was. And unfortunately, the lady who owned that shop, Pat Kavanagh, she died quite suddenly, and an opportunity came for me. Then her family had asked me if I would take over. So I got known in the town for having whether it was the angel shop, the smelly shop, the holy shop. It was known as everything. There was a little bit of everything in it. Then 9 months later, my own mum passed away, and from her passing, her friend, who was one of the tutors in kinesiology, decided, we all got such a shock with it, that she decided to devise what she does in her working day into a training course. And it, along with another colleague, Elma and Pippa, started up Biokinesiology Ireland. And I trained in that. I was very fortunate to be one of the first. I think there was 12 of us that qualified, 13 maybe, in the very, very first group. And that knocked on. I could see where the emotional relationship with your gut was to do with your mental health, removing toxins from the system, using nutrition to help you. And for me, then the interest hugely went into the emotional side of it. So now with COVID, I had closed down the retail side of the shop at Christmas 2019. Never thought COVID was coming. Had opened up a different therapy room, moved away from the retail, and COVID came, and sure, everything's just been on pause. So I've been upskilling online and carrying on doing stuff. Any of us that were one-to-one therapists were stopped working for nearly 2 years at the time when we were probably needed the most. So a lot of us would have gained skills to try and move online. And now it's come full circle, and I've taken on my old premises again in Wicklow Town, and I'll be reopening under Wellbeing with Wings, and I'll be offering, I suppose, with the biokinesiology initially, it's exactly, I'll absolutely adore it. It's such a fantastic system. I'll be concentrating. I was seeing people, we would ask when people come in, what's the most important thing to treat today? Is it emotional, chemical, or structural? And emotional, always on the first visit, it was emotional. And you could see huge healing happening once people followed what it was that was recommended for them. So going forward, I think it's going to be concentrating on the emotional side of stuff, with helping with the other side of things as well, with diet and removing foods and good nutrition to try and help the mind.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's a great insight into everything you do. And I know, having been in your shop several times, there was always such a variety there. So you were just telling us there a funny story about random acts of kindness, and having read about it as you were coming across the Eastlink Bridge in Dublin. So you might just to show that when people would decide on, I'm going to go and do a random act of kindness for somebody, just be careful how you do it. So go ahead and tell us that story.
Yeah, I'm one of these people, when there's a film out and everybody's talking about it, or a book out and somebody's talking about it, I won't go near it until the time's right or whatever. And books tend to sort of fall off shelves, or I trip up over them in shops or whatever. And this one book did, and I decided I'm a flicker. I'm a devil. I don't read from start to finish. I flick. I remember doing Lord of the Flies in school, and I took out the last pages because I knew I'd skip to see what was going to happen in the end. And one of the things I opened was, maybe consider paying a toll for somebody behind you. And it was back before the euro, so it was in the punt days. It was probably about 70 pence or something to cross over the bridge. And I went to the booth on purpose thinking, I can do this. It was the old airport road for us at the time. I can do this. And I paid for the man behind me in the car. And I said to the cashier lady, I said, you can let them through as well. And next thing, we got over the bridge. And, as it narrows, as you're hitting the bridge going over towards the Point Depot. And he drove up with rage, absolute rage, and cut me off. And expletives came out the window, and a fist telling me that he could afford to pay his own toll and have a nice day, in all sorts of different terms of endearment. So I just thought, I think humans, I know Irish in particular are very bad to taking a compliment. I think I think after the last 2 years, people get a little bit mistrusting of kindness as well, because we're just so out of touch with each other, or we've been so involved in our own personal bubbles, and that's been surrounded and enveloped by fear. It's probably mistrusting if somebody's nice to you. Somebody opens a door for you, you're like, why are you doing that? And now you're saying you're too close to me. So yeah, my first conscious random act of kindness bit me in the ass, really. But I'd love to know what he thought to himself as he went off up the road, or when he went home and he said, this happened to me today. He was probably told, why didn't you just say thank you?
Yeah. Well, again, I think for today, being Random Act of Kindness Day, I thought the idea you have for everyone today, the most simple of things that can be done, that's not going to cost them a penny. So why don't you share your idea about that?
Yeah, and even I put it up on my Facebook page, and I was even worried saying it, but with the news coming in that they might be going, just pull down your mask and smile at somebody today. I know I was in the supermarket with my sister a couple of months ago, and I was smiling at everybody. You nod and you say hello, but you have the mask on, and you have a scarf on, and you have a hat on. And she brought me into the toilet, and she goes, smile at yourself there in the mirror, Tara. Have a look and see. There's people looking at you. Look what your eyes do. All you can see is this. They don't know what you're doing behind the mask. Just pull it down and smile. We have a generation of such young children that don't know. They're not seeing the facial expressions out on the streets. It costs you nothing to smile.
No, absolutely.
It's interesting watching people's reactions when you just walk down the street smiling as well. We're a funny lot, humans are.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, by smiling at somebody, they'll either believe that you're hiding something, or
you're up to something.
or you're up to something, one or the other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. But again, to everyone watching there, we say to you, have a great random act of kindness day and try and do something nice for somebody today. Well, next up, we're just
Yeah.
going to talk. Yeah, we're just going to have a quick chat about this. Yes, indeed, it is Micro Business Award season again. And in about 5 weeks' time, all the Irish finalists from last year and all the UK finalists will be gathering in the sunny seaside town of Scarborough, or as one of the organisers over there told me, we should be referring to it. We're all heading for Scarbados. And we will be over to find the winners of the UK and Ireland awards. In the meantime, anyone that would like to enter this year's awards, you can go to www.irishmicrobusinessawards.ie or microbusinessawards.co.uk. The entry form is there, just fill it in. Don't worry that the date it's showing that the date for nominations has passed. We have extended it, so you can still enter now and get your entries in. And we will be closing that when we get to Scarborough in the 24th of March. So do make sure and get your entries in, and we, of course, we wish all the Irish finalists competing the very best of luck. So, Tara, when it comes to, I should just mention, by the way, that we hope to have another guest joining us. Michelle Lestas hopes to be joining us. Unfortunately, her power went out following the storm last night, and she's waiting to see if it is restored. And I know that she's trying to watch it on the phone at the moment, and she will be joining us if she gets power back. So hopefully, we'll be talking to her then. So, Tara, today is also separate to being Random Acts of Kindness. It's also World Human Spirit Day. Can you tell us a little bit about what the purpose of the day is all about and what it means? And
I I had only sort of heard of it in passing before, and it was really when you contacted me, Rory, I looked into it, and it is going to become a much bigger day and much better known, I think, particularly in what I'm seeing with the queries coming in, the change of people who are working in the frontline services, contacting, looking for something extra to just wind them down from their 9 to 5 or from their daily routine. It concentrates on for people looking for mindfulness or for meditation. And I know myself, as I said to you there when I was introducing myself, one of the first times I'd heard of meditation, I never really knew what it was. I thought it belonged to a certain belief system. And now you see it, you see the word and hear it used. It's been done in the schools. There's mindfulness classes in the schools. So I think the day's there to try and raise awareness, to step out of your mind for a little bit, which would probably be the priority query that comes into me about, my mind's just so busy and circulating thoughts in my head and very hard to organize stuff. And I remember the very first working in Merchants Quay in the homeless services. Every Tuesday morning we closed for a little bit, and the board of management there were absolutely amazing at ensuring that the staff had a facility to wind down every single day and to talk about what was going on. We were frontline, low threshold services. And I remember a facilitator coming in for meditation, and we're sitting opposite the forecourts in Dublin, and we were tuning in, and I thought I'd be thinking, did I hang the washing out, or, oh no, it's raining out. I couldn't do it. I couldn't close down the mind, and I was trying to sort of watching what everybody else was doing, and couldn't concentrate at all. And it was only after with the breathing techniques and stuff and doing it my own way, what was working for me, like stop fidgeting, sit on my hands and to do whatever. I noticed only after it, not even during it, that I had actually done a bit of what they had said to stop the outer noises in your head and to focus in. So you were throwing your mind to the one bird sitting in the tree singing on the keys whilst all the trucks were rolling past. It was the closing one thing off at a time. I remember it being a real challenge. I could never get around to doing it again. I couldn't close off my mind. And then I stopped doing it the way everybody else was doing it. And you just find your own way to step outside your mind, whether it's standing on the beach, walking in a forest. You don't have to sit down and listen to an hour of somebody telling you what to do. You can find what it is and it might be something different now than in 6 months' time once you get used to it, just to learn to quieten the mind a little bit, to look back, to be more conscious of what it is that you're saying or thinking. There's those sayings out there, you are what you attract. So you're thinking negatively, you're going to get negative energy. I see an awful lot of young people in the workshops I do in schools doing the positive affirmation, saying something positive to themselves in front of a mirror 3 times before they go to school in the morning. That stuff, it does eventually sink in. There's nothing to be scared of with it. There's no one way to do it. You do it in the math suits you in, whether it's all these buzzwords, mindfulness and meditation, it's about you getting that little bit. Could be 2 minutes, it could be 2 hours, whatever it is that helps you step into something that just quietens your mind. It's the quietening of the mind is what I see coming in often. People just can't go to sleep. They're thinking of what's going on in the day and what's going on tomorrow. And they get up the next day and it's the same old stuff. Nothing's changed. That vicious circle. You need to just a little bit of self-appreciation and to be kind to yourself. The two of them, the 2 days roll into one. Be kind to others, be kind to yourself. We're awful self-punishers.
Yeah, very much so. With the positive affirmation there, how long does somebody have to actually start and be doing something like that before they actually start believing it?
It's funny because again, it's something that I would bring into the workshops, but I'm a devil for not practicing it. When I see some of the teenagers now they're just fantastic that they're doing it. You will the three times, the number 3 seems 3 and 7. They're great times for the repetition. Look, we see how quickly when we were getting the repetitive news every single day in the last 2 years, and it's ingrained in you so quickly. It was coming at you every single down, in, out. It was the conversation. We didn't talk about weather. We talked about numbers. Everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to be at a different place and at a different stage in it. Self-belief, it's not easy, it isn't easy. So it's the persistence and just keeping it up and trying. And once you're being honestly trying with yourself, it's about the honest, sincere intention.
Yeah, absolutely.
To do it.
Yeah. Cheryl, have we any update on that NEFIT meeting yet, or are we still?
Well, there's a meeting of the National Public Health Emergency Team is scheduled for today to consider the current COVID situation. The main issues on the agenda is the current use of face masks as part of the public health. The issue of an annual COVID vaccine. Sorry, I'm falling over my words. COVID vaccination is being considered by the National Immunisation Advisory Council. NEFIT are also understood to be concerned about the relatively low uptake of vaccinations so far among the 5 to 11-year-olds, with over 170,000 out of an estimated 480,000 school children eligible in this age group, or approximately 35% are vaccinated to date. The vaccination centres are to remain in place for now, but in future, GPs and pharmacists would likely take over this role. The future of NEFIT is also up for discussion, as they were established as an emergency team, and the emergency aspect of the pandemic is now past. So, would you support the option in wearing a face mask? And have NEFIT done a good job based on the information available to them?
I've surprised myself in the past 2 years. I wouldn't be in agreement with an awful lot of what had been done, but I complied because people are scared. and
Yeah.
people were scared, and I didn't even realize myself how scared I was or how much it had got into me until I ended up testing positive for COVID myself. In early December, we ended up with a house of it, and they were possibly one of the longest 3-4 days of my life. Even when I think of some of the grief and trauma that's been there, those from seeing the word positive coming in, I'm speechless at where my own head went in those few days. And it was the psychology of everything that's gone on, and the worrying for dad and worrying for my sister, worrying for kids, older relatives, people who were alone.
Yeah.
I'm personally absolutely, I just want the masks off the kids in school. It makes no sense to me when you're already sitting, at least to me, from your baija. It's causing migraines, it's causing fatigue. It's just such an awful visual impact. We had parent-teacher meetings recently, and they're online, and they were done in the evening, and my 13-year-old son was sitting beside me, and at the exact same time as he turned around and said to me, the teacher said, "It's lovely to see your face." They've been in school together since September. He didn't know what his teacher looked like, and his teacher didn't know what he looked like. I was blown away. It hadn't dawned on me. I was sort of so focused about, when am I going to be able to get in and see his new school? When am I going to be able to meet the teachers? So they hadn't even seen each other, and they had done several months. So I think coming from the biokinesiology perspective and seeing it myself, I've suffered flu all my life. I shared a room with my sister. She's never had flu once. We all have different constitutions, and we all have our own sort of illnesses that are sitting there and they wait. I see it in the line of work that I do. You could have old infections, old sicknesses, and they come back and they bite you in the bum when you're really, really unwell. One of the first things that I would say to people is, if you're at disease, it's the exact same word as disease with just the hyphen in it. If you've stress, I'm not talking about ravaging disease, but disease is being unwell, underlying issues. It knocks on, and you end up, I have an old viral infection that was apparently meant for my lung. Go there. Now I've labyrinthitis in my ear. Virus is, so I can understand that there was fear and that there was worry and that it was a very, very serious form of the flu. Luckily, we weren't sick. I still haven't got my smell back. My taste did, working on the five senses. No, I have everything crossed that the mandate goes for mass, but gives people a choice, because I think the last 2 years have been so fundamentally difficult, and I think what's to come in the psychology and what people have been through, I think it's scary. I think we need to be given the choice. I also think that if there was a fraction invested into promoting people to take personal responsibility over the last 2 years, we'd be in a completely different place.
Yeah.
We have a messaging has come in for you, Tara, from Una Kelly. Huge respect and thanks to Tara for all the hard work she has put in Wicklow. Myself and Tricia spent many hours reading cards in with Tara and friends. She's an amazing woman who puts her heart and soul into every project. Very best of luck.
Oh, Una, you're going to make me cry. I think about you all the time. I haven't seen her in the scene. Oh, thanks, Una. That's lovely. I'm going to be crying today.
Again, I think when it comes to NPHET and did they do a good job, I think because the evidence was forever changing, it caused a lot of confusion. The government didn't help things because the government were putting out a huge amount of mixed messaging. And what they were telling you one day, they were very quickly changing the next. But I think as an emergency response team, I personally feel that NPHET have done very, very well with what information they have. But could things have been done better? Will lessons have been learned? Like, with regard to the mask wearing, like you, I would love to see the back of them. At the same time, I don't know that I'm ready, that if they come out and say, right, from midnight tonight, masks are totally optional, I can't see myself walking into a crowded city centre without actually putting a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Through personal choice. will I enjoy being able to take it off again quickly afterwards? Yes. Or I find out
Yeah,
myself in a shop that is very quiet. I'm able to take it off. Absolutely. Would it be
yeah.
lovely to go and get a haircut and not have the mask on? Yes. But I don't know. I think there has to be a level of personal responsibility in this.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I think it's such
Absolutely.
like forget COVID ever even happened. If we could have got personal responsibility out there decades ago, we'd all be in a different place anyway. Do you know? It's we need to stop getting other people to do stuff for us. We need to know our right from wrong, know our comfort levels, respect other people's comfort levels. Uh, um, I'm not a fan of masks. I would love to have been outspoken. I was scared to speak out about my views on it. I would have friends who, we don't. I don't know if we'll ever come back together again in where we hopefully we do. Hopefully, as things start to change, but I would still put a mask on around them because I know that their comfort level is that they want to be masked and they would respect if I would. And again, I talk so much that it's very, very difficult not to be doing, when you're talking
Yeah.
to somebody and just the chat and yeah, no, it's personal responsibility all the way. But I was very, very fortunate over the last few years that one of the local secondary schools in Wicklow had asked me to come in and do well-being workshops. They're sixth year students. And the times that they were on, we just happened to have had a lull in lockdowns and the schools were open. And my daughter was in one of the years, in the second year that I did it. And I knew by them and I knew by her group of friends that they were all wearing the masks in school. But when I got in and saw 36 of them sitting in the rows with it, it's an image that doesn't leave me walking into the class that day. I would have loved to have said to them, everybody just take them off while we're here. But they were so genuinely scared. And as I say to you, it knocked on our door the 2nd of December here and went to places that I didn't even know existed. It was crazy. I had to stopwatch, right? Okay, I'm going to be dead on the 12th. So I have to fix this, that, and the other. I couldn't believe it after everything I've been saying. It's huge psychology. I think we're going to have an awful lot of emotional scars after it.
Yeah.
But I think these little days of the random act of kindness, the simple smile, the simplicity and stuff, some of it costs very little, if not free, and all of a little bit of an energy exchange with somebody. A random wave at people.
Yeah. So, and I mean, on that basis, then, to the total novice who has only ever heard about mindfulness, has only ever thought and heard about finding that connection within themselves, how would you advise them is the best way to start? I know when we spoke about it, you were saying that for everyone it can be totally different, but
Totally different.
is there any
Yeah.
little tips that can even help them find the pathway to take to get on the right path?
I suppose where I've ended up in using a little bit of everything that I've gone and studied, I've ended up with what happens in a treatment now is all 5 of your senses are going to get something. And most of us have all, if not most, sense. So what is it that you want to do? If you were going to tell me that we were going to a meditation group and we were going to start chanting, I ain't going to that group. And I'm going to worry about if I do get into that group, how I'm going to leave, because I'm not comfortable with that, the chanting, just where I am now. I might be in 6 months' time. I would say, think about it. What is it that you want? Is it that you just want to lie down quiet, and relax? Is it that you want to hear sounds? Is it that you want to experience touch? And you do it your own way. There's so many books and videos and programs and theories on I remember buying my first stick of sage, right? I'm a devil for the sage and of the white sage. And it's for clearing illnesses. And you see it when you go to churches, you see incense, smoke, clearing energies and taking away negativity. And I remember being scared to use it because I had been told that you had to do it this way. You had to go into the corners. You had to do it whatever way it is that makes you happy. It's your tool. Do you know? You do it whatever way it works for you, as long as you keep it safe and the ash isn't falling on the ground. It's the same with the meditation. If you don't want to listen to something that's completely spiritual or religious, do you just want to listen to plinky plonky music? Find what it is that makes you sort of find your inner smile. If your outer smile isn't even coming out at the moment, what is it that makes you feel, oh, that was nice? Do you know? That was relaxing. And start small. There's no need to go to the huge groups just yet. Find your confidence and know that you deserve to have quietening of the mind, that you deserve to have inner peace, inner happiness, contentment. One of the words that they use for the World Human Spirit Day is contentment, to find contentment. So what makes you content? One of the things that I do and probably would most like to be known for is the back flower remedies. I absolutely love them. And everybody knows, or probably knows, that little bottle, the sun's on it there, the little bottles of Rescue Remedy. So I work off the 38 of those bottles, and it breaks down the emotions. Edward Bach wrote them, and it's amazing when you get into them. So you could say, I would have people coming to me and they say they feel fear or they're feeling scared. And when you get talking to them, you'd be asking them on two things. Do you know what it is you're scared of? More often than not, they don't know, but they know that the feeling is that they're scared. There's completely different little remedies for that. So there's completely different ways of doing things for each type of emotion. And every single emotion you have is worth acknowledging. I read a thing the other day. It was really interesting. It's emotion. The word emotions is emotion. It's energy in motion. So they fluctuate. They're tidal. Sure, look, we're full moon at the moment. We're all lunatics, you know. We all bark at the word Luna, the lunatic. It has a huge effect on us. Some people get really energized these 3 days. Another thing that we would work off in biokinesiology, or we would see to associate with anxiety an awful lot, would be an overload of parasites. And we would all have them. We worm our cats and dogs and stuff like that. They're really active during the full moon. People wonder why they're not sleeping, or, you know, it's a really powerful time. Look at the ancients. The world revolved around the earth and the moon. Everything was planned by it. So you find, even if it's sitting in the garden, watching the birds, or if it's sitting looking at the moon, do it. What harm are you doing to anybody else? Just find what it is that makes you content, and you'll develop from there. And those things will start falling into your path. You'll notice them. You know, your feather on the street. I'm a devil for that. My own kids have started it now too. Little signs, songs coming on the radio. You're thinking of somebody and the phone rings and it's them. Take all those little signs, because they do nobody any harm. That's one of the probably the most important messages. As long as you're doing nobody any harm.
And of course, I think equally to ensure to use the power of positive thought, because it is so strong, and so many people don't actually acknowledge its existence.
No, you're right. And it's very easy. And I would probably have if I ever got a grade A plus in anything, it would have been in self-sabotage. So it's very easy. You're going to write your own affirmation. You're going to write your own positive thought. You really need to look at it, because more often than not, you might have something, you don't have 100% trust in what it is that you've written. You might be, again, back to the compliments, or, you know, and taking the positive thought from somebody else. Write your own, but they have to be absolutely, as you say, bang on, because you'll be attracting the negative stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with you. So, the question that all our guests do get asked when they come on, Tara, is, what is your favourite light bite lunch?
Again, not great one for taking my own advice. I'm a devil for not doing breakfast, and it could skip lunch as well. But when watching back on your past shows and you asking this, I was going to pretend that it was poached eggs and avocados and healthy things like that, but it's not. It's peanut butter. It's butter and peanut butter on toast with tomato. We've no idea where it even came from, and that is one of life's guilty pleasures. A cup of tea and peanut butter with tomato on toast.
Interesting. And when you put the peanut, like, do you make the toast, then peanut butter, then a slice of tomato, or do you actually put the peanut butter on, then the tomato, and actually toast it under the grill at that stage?
No, but I might try that. No, make the toast, butter it, bit of peanut butter, and then the tomato, lovely big beef tomatoes on it. And is it what's called all-purpose seasoning? Do you know the yellow stuff that's supposed to be awful for you? It's delicious on it. Delicious.
That'll be the aromat.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that
Yeah.
and a packet of crisps.
Pack of crisps. Any particular flavors down that route,
Salt
or
and vinegar. Yeah, salt and vinegar all day long.
And what about yourself, Cheryl? What's your latest go-to light bite lunch?
Probably something with noodles or eggs. I like a nice egg.
Is that the chocolate variety for this time of year?
No,
No.
boiled or poached.
Yes. So, Tara, it doesn't look at this stage like Michelle is going to be able to get in to join us, but tell me, a lot of people have huge misconceptions about what it's like a day in the life of a small business owner. Now, the reality, wrong and all as it is, but the reality is a day in the life for a female small business owner is even more tough than for a man, because there's such a mentality out there that for some reason it is so much harder for women to succeed in business. So maybe just for the people that are watching there, explain a little bit about, for you, what a day in your life of business is.
And I'm at the cusp at the moment, so I'll do what it was, and because I'm just at that stage where I'm about to reopen. So what I hope it to be from mistakes. So as you probably both know well, I'm not a natural business person at all. I came into owning my own. Now, several start your own business courses behind me would have started back in the day when we were looking to sell the vinyls. It had been that long ago. And I come from both sides of my family. My granddad's business owners. It isn't something that's natural to me. And when the opportunity came up, when poor Pat passed away, and the opportunity came up to do it, the supports are there. Local LEOs, with local. With Vice Board, the social welfare, do you know, if you're back to work, enterprise allowance, there's networking and women's networking groups. The support are there. I didn't know about them at the time, but I rang several friends who were all women in business, and they were all business owners. One of them was 30 years. The other lady was just transitioning from childcare into energy work. And I rang several friends, and I said to them, what would you say to me if I told you I have an opportunity to go into business? And I didn't get one person to say, do it, absolutely do it. They were all like, it's crazy, your kids are young. My daughter was only hitting her teens. My son he was 6 years younger than her. But they've, the work-life balance, you're far better off on the PAYE. So I still went ahead and I did it. And you're 7 days a week and you're 24 hours a day, but you're doing something that you love. I don't know where, I wouldn't have taken over a business that I didn't have interest in. I did have an onus on me. I felt I put it on myself to keep the business as it was and try and bring my own stuff in. But it's 24/7. It was a project. I loved it. It was hard. I was on the main street in Wicklow town. All the businesses suffered when we lost the hotel there as well. It was hard. The footfall wasn't there. But I absolutely don't regret a day of it. But the day, it's all day, and it's in the evening. You're trying to source suppliers, or especially with social media, you're doing all that. So when I closed the doors of Christmas 2019, sure, I had great plans that I got rid of the retail, and I was just going to do therapies, and I'd be able to choose my hours, and there'd be no more 24/7 ordering stock and invoices like that and all coming in. So going forward, I'm hoping to be able to see as many people as needed on the weekends and the evenings. For those that are in school, they're the people that are coming. I just hope to be able to address the need rather than morph into the need of the town, address the need that's coming to me. At the moment, I have an awful lot of teenagers. I don't want them taking days off school. They've had enough time off school to be able to come and see me. So I'm going to be opening up in the evenings for them, do you know, and at the weekends and on Sundays, and hopefully doing workshops and stuff down there. But for being self-employed, it's 24/7. It's a full-time commitment, and you have to love what you do. In the ideal world as well, I would have had good capital behind me. I don't. Everything's done on a wing and a prayer with me. So it's, but it will come. I'm going to put it out there, the positivity that it shall be flowing in abundance in no time at all.
Brilliant. And so for the year ahead, you've big plans for big expansions on what you do and that type of thing.
Yeah, morph to the need. Do you know? And my daughter's actually doing holistic therapies now in college as well, and she'll be able to offer stuff. So it'd be great to have the two of us, you know, able to offer things from this lovely little space that we had, because there's such a huge personal and emotional attachment to the space. You've both been into Wings. It was a special little place. It was started off by a very, very special lady, and the energy of her it's still there. It's still in it, even though it's been closed. The door has been closed now for the past 2 years. But going forward, yeah, I'd love if my daughter was able to come in, and she'll attract, you know, that age group. I can stick with my generation. Yeah, whatever people are looking for when they come in, hopefully we'll be able to address it, because everybody has an emotional imbalance. Everybody deserves a treat, a self-treat of some description. The elements are all around us: earth, air, fire, water. Indulge in those. The 5 senses, you can always treat yourself, whether it's listening to solfeggio frequencies, tasting something, smelling something, hearing something, you know, looking at the prettiness in nature. It's around you. It doesn't often come to us. We have to go find it. So if Wings can offer a bit of serenity and peace and a safe space to people, I'm content with my lot there. Do you know? Just need to keep the roof over our heads and food in their mouths, and it's all good.
No, absolutely. And tell me, in terms of when you have people coming to you and you have them sharing all these stresses with you, how do you wind down after a day of that? If you have 3 appointments in the day, and 2 of the 3 are in an intensely dark place coming in,
yes,
goes without saying, through the sharing of energy, they will have left some of that negativity around. So how do you then take that come the end of that day, so that when you're going home to your family, you can have switched that negativity away and get back into your zone?
Yeah, I learned huge lessons, absolutely lifelong, massive lessons working in Merchants Quay. We were the lowest threshold frontline crisis intervention service in Dublin, opposite the forecourts. Most people are aware of Merchants Quay Ireland. When I started there, I was in the homes. They were separate services. The Franciscans, who would have been the board of management, they would have instilled in us that at the end of your day, you know, you have to separate. You have to separate. You can't be bringing that home. Of course, I didn't listen. I thought I could be everybody's friend. So I saw the detrimental effects of that. So just as I've gone along and learning, I would sage the room down. They're the things, even if they don't scientifically work or whatever, for me, they're small little things. Some people might say a prayer, or, you know, the intention or whatever. I would sage the place down. I would possibly spray it. I would sage myself. I would make use of the backflower remedies for myself. And one of the other things is that a lot of people would see, you know, Reiki, crystals, meditation and all that as alternative. I think it's a word that needs to be got rid of when it comes to these, because they're very much complementary more than alternative. So we would always, I know an awful lot of my colleagues are the same, but for us in Merchants Quay at the time, we were an ad service. So I would always make sure that I know where the local mental health team is, the contact numbers for the doctors, whether it's the different helplines for Pieta House. As I say to you, what I saw in the homeless circles, the root cause was the people didn't have coping skills. So it's going and teach. And now in the schools, what I'm doing with the teenagers in the schools, trying to teach them the different methods when panic attacks, because anxiety and panic attacks are extremely real and very, very prevalent with that age group as well, with the pressure for exams. And it's teaching them the smaller methods like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the box breathing, bringing their senses in that moment to panic, using the remedies, whether it's rescue remedy or they've had their own made up. There's loads of different ways. For me, energy wise, it is a real discipline. It took years to learn it, and I'm not going to tell you that I come home and don't think about them. I'll check in on them. I could see it coming home. The reason why I left, and I think the job was nearly an addiction in itself in Merchants Quay, was because that energy, we were feeding 230, 240 people in a 2-hour session in the morning. And my son was a baby. My daughter was a toddler. She was just slightly older than toddler. And I was bringing that chaos home with me. And I could see it in them and their behavior. It was just chaotic, whether they'd be more clingy with me or something had to give. And the times on the streets in Dublin really changed over the last decade or so as well. There's a huge change with the poly-drug use and the mental health issues, and services reducing in the same breath. And yeah, it was becoming 24/7. I wasn't separating. It was also coming to my doorstep at home. I was seeing people I knew in there, people I grew up with, or people whose parents I grew up with. And it was coming to my parents' front door then at home. And something had to give, because you can't, you're supposed to work to make yourself redundant when you're working in the voluntary services in Dublin. You were never going to be. There's always going to be homelessness. It's just a pity that it's the crisis that it is. But as I say, it all goes back down then to your coping skills. If we could be teaching coping skills, I know in my kids' primary school, when they were in primary school, as young as senior infants, I think we're doing it. Certainly first class, we're doing mindfulness a couple of times a week. Yeah. That's hope. That is absolute hope for the future generations. Yeah. I'm a firm believer everybody in the country in transition year should do 2 things. Every transition year, it'd have to be choice for the Reiki, but get it into Reiki level 1. And the other one is go and be brought on a school trip to see inside some of our prisons and our prison services. I can tell you it's a game changer. You'll do everything in your power not to end up in there. You need the coping skills. I'm hoping, I sat the last 2 years thinking things were going to turn around and that positivity could only come from this, but I'm a little bit disheartened that it hasn't as much as I hoped it might. It might yet.
And what do you feel we have learned from COVID?
Oh, I could have told you a different answer at the end of November to what I'd experienced on the 2nd of December. I think the difference of opinion and allowing people to have it, I think I'm really, I don't know, concerned, I think is the right word, at how easy it was. I'm not taking away from the virus. It's a serious virus, but how easy people were scared. Like, we did not leave outside our front door. We took turns to go to the shops at one stage and washed before we brought the shopping in. When you think back to 2 years ago, the speed of how everything was just clone and the conformity was, and how much division there was in it. When the passports came in and you were looking at your friends inside the door of the pub, and but they were able to come out and talk to you, but you weren't allowed in there with them. Things like that. I don't know. I'm hoping that people will learn to be kind. We're going back to Random Acts of Kindness Day. It's the word to be kind to themselves and to each other. The value of the fragility of life, and to look after your mental health, to find your happy place. If we could learn to just find our happy place, contentment. We're back to the word contentment again.
Yeah, again, I think it's shown that because we've covered a huge range of subjects there today, and it keeps showing. It all comes back to the same thing: kindness, contentment, respect.
Yeah, respect, exactly, absolutely. And so going forward, then, if we are coming to this, so say if whatever happens with the mandates today, and we go into Monday, the schools are all on midterm break next week. So it'll be the following Monday. When you see the kids going back into schools and back into the colleges and everything, there's going to be more lessons to be learnt then. Do you know? And as you said earlier, if the communication systems had been better, like I see it with people who have conformed to absolutely everything, and thinking of older relatives and family members, they did every single thing that was asked of them, and then something sort of that they would have felt was contradictory or hypocritical would come out, and they're asking, what's the point? After living their whole lives building this country and doing everything that's been asked of them, and all of a sudden it's just open again. I don't know, we've such emotional balance, rebalancing to come. I'm not going to say we were ever a balanced world, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do. But if we each look after ourselves with a bit of self-love, contentment, kindness, find that little hippy-dippy thing, hug a tree. If nothing else, nobody be watching you. Go deep into go out your back garden, hug a shrub.
And if all else fails, win the Euro Millions.
Win the Euro Millions. Well, as I said to you earlier, I don't ever earn it. I just want my small amount. I just want to clear my debts because it never stopped working. Money can breed misery as well.
Oh, and I mean, it's something I was only discussing with somebody recently, and we were talking about the fact that it sounds great. Yeah, all this money is suddenly coming in, but with it comes a lot of problems. There's worry about your family, worry about your friends.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd asked me earlier, do you know what would you do if you won the lotto? I've never looked to have the big win. This morning, I won a £5 on a scratch card this morning. You just swear I won the lotto. I got my money back, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just happy that there was that little bit of positivity in the day. Yeah, I'd love to just clear the debts and have the family secure and my kids secure. Them not having to worry, but I tell you, they'll always have a work ethic. I'd hate for them to have so much money that they would think they didn't need to work. You need to work. You need to be doing something.
For your own self-worth, you need to work.
Yeah, without a doubt. You need to be challenging yourself. I know I worked volunteering for a long time before I ended up getting the degree to be able to have a salary within the voluntary service. And when you work in those caring professions, sometimes you feel a little bit guilty about taking a wage as well, you know, because your wage could be going into providing more food or extra services or whatever. So we've, as human beings, back to the old constant guilt. You know, you feel guilty for something, or
you're guilty for your achievements.
Yeah. Is it an Irish thing or a human thing?
I think it's very much an Irish thing.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it goes back to not being able to take a compliment again, doesn't it?
That's it. Well, listen, Tara, we're going to wind it up a little bit early there. We really appreciate your time coming on the show today. If anyone wants to get in touch with you and wants to find out a little bit more about Wellbeing with Wings, what's the easiest way to get hold of you? The social media, the Facebook, my Facebook page is Wellbeing with Wings. I am on Instagram, but I'm not very good at it. I have a 13-year-old trying his hardest to show me. I'm missing stuff on it. But my email is wingsofwicklow@gmail.com. So that's the two of them would be the best way forward. My phone number was out there, but I'll be honest, since the HSE hack and since having the PCR test done, it's just a constant string. I'm not answering it, you know. So the best way is always the email or message me on social media. So wingsofwicklow@gmail.com. At Wings of Wicklow is the social media. That's brilliant. Well, Tara, thank you so much for your time today. We really do appreciate it. And of course, we wish you every success over the coming year. And I'm sure we will be down to see you in Wicklow very soon.
Come in for some sound bowls.
Oh yeah, we'll be down to see you, absolutely. We'll be back again in 2 weeks' time, and it's World Book Day, so we'll be talking all things books. Do get your questions together, and we'll look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.